Hey you guys, welcome to Kinky. Let's try that again. Let's see, I really hope that we are, in fact, recording sex. Man, oh man, how do people do this? Like, is this thing on? Is this thing on? Hey you guys, my name is Kinky, and this is the very first episode of the Kingly Love YouTube channel. Maybe the second? So, great news, we're gonna do something really fun today to kind of start things off right. So, in about 2 weeks' time is Mardi Gras, or Fat Tuesday, and it happens to fall on February 13th, which is right before Valentine's Day. So in order to get you guys a Valentine's Day video next week, I'm going to do something for Mardi Gras this week. I wanted to make you guys a king cake, but I didn't just want to do like any sort of regular, kind of boring king cake or anything like that. So I wanted to put a bit of a sex ed twist on it. So I'm going to show you guys how to make Kincaid's Kinky King Cake. This is gonna be fun. Right, so because I love alliteration, we're going to be making Kincaid's Kinky King Cake today. For that you will need, for the cake portion, 1 cup of lukewarm milk, about 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of dry yeast, 3 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of melted butter, 5 beaten egg yolks, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of fresh grated lemon zest, 3 teaspoons of cinnamon, and several gratings of fresh nutmeg. I don't have fresh nutmeg, but I do have pre-packaged ground nutmeg, so we're going to be doing that, and I'll go ahead and just equate several gratings to a couple of dashes. Then for the icing, you need 2 cups of powdered milk, 1/4 cup of condensed milk, 1 teaspoon of fresh lemon juice. You need sprinkles. Normally on a traditional king cake you have like purple, green, and yellow sprinkles or something like that, but for this recipe, because it's BDSM themed, I went ahead and got red and silver sprinkles and some black icing, so we're gonna have some fun with that. And then lastly, 1 plastic baby to hide in the cake after baking. And I did not get a plastic baby because number 1, I don't know where you would get a plastic baby, but number 2, this is sex ed themed, so I came up with something else, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Full disclosure, I don't bake very often, and I have only made a pastry dough from scratch about once or twice in my life, so I really don't know how this is going to turn out. If you have any of you viewers who are expert chefs, please be gentle with me. Alright, the first thing that we need to do is bring 1 cup of milk and warm it up. Let's see, oops. Always be ready to clean as you go. Expert baking tip. While the milk is warming up, I'm gonna go ahead and add some of the other dry ingredients to get the startings of the dough. So first thing we're gonna need to do here is empty out 2 tablespoons of yeast. This is about 2 1/4 tablespoons, so almost all of it, but not quite. Gonna empty that out into here. Save just a little bit. Oh, then comes the 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. There you go, 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, and a heaping tablespoon of flour. I'm gonna get this right here. I'm gonna go ahead and start kind of pre-mixing some of these things, so that whenever the milk is done, we can go ahead and just start mixing it all together properly. Now the milk is finished warming up. We're gonna go ahead and pour the milk in here into our larger mixing bowl. I don't know how big this is gonna get. I know we have to let it rise, so I'm just gonna use the largest bowl that we have, and I'm gonna go ahead and whisk in the sugar, flour, and yeast that we had going on earlier. And the instructions say to whisk this together until bubbles begin forming on the milk surface.
Come on!
It actually kind of smells like a beer, which is kind of funny and interesting. Alright, so that's pretty bubbly. It's foaming up for a little bit. I'm going to consider that good and start working on the other ingredients. So, next. Alright, well that is, I'm going to set that aside for now. And while the butter is in the microwave melting, we're going to go ahead and separate out some egg yolks. So the way that works is you crack the egg, separate it into 2 hands, and then pass the yolk back and forth. And then eventually you get the egg white will drop down below. And there you go. You have an egg yolk. Toss that. Just gotta do that 4 more times. Oh shit. The yolk is still intact, amazingly. All right, now we've got our milk, yeast, and flour and sugar mixture here. Then we've got egg yolks. We've got the yolks of 5 eggs there. Got 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Then the zest of it says 1 teaspoon of lemon zest. I don't know exactly how much that is, so I'm just gonna do about the zest of 1 lemon, and I figure that will be plenty for our purposes.
Nah, 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 come on.
Almost forgot to add the butter in here as well. 1 cup of melted butter, that's 2, or half a cup of melted butter, that's 2 sticks of butter. Whisk this all together to form a delicious kind of yellowy goop, which this will be fun. So once we stir in all this, then we'll add in the remaining flour, the cinnamon, and the nutmeg and such, and then we'll hopefully actually start to have what will resemble a dough. Let's see, while we're stirring this, fun fact about fun little kitchen utensils and things like this. We're going to talk about BDSM a little bit, which stands for bondage, domination, submission, sadism, and masochism. So with BDSM, there's always a lot of like complex equipment when you see it on TV shows, things like that. The truth is, you and your partner can actually get started with some light BDSM play with things that you have lying around the house. For example, you can always use some household kitchen utensils like a rubber spatula or just a regular like pancake spatula, if you so desire, to act as kind of a very simple paddle or a little wire whisk. Every now and again makes a nice impact play. And then whenever you're flipping pancakes over the next morning after your night fun, you have a little fun secret between you and your partner. Or you can use things like ties or handkerchiefs around the house for a little bit of light bondage. I prefer to not use silk ties because I'm always worried that the silk is going to slip and tighten up a bit too much, but you can use those and they have a really nice feel on the skin, and they are just a ton of fun. All right, I have my 3 remaining 3 3/4 cups of flour here. Next, I'm going to add just 3 teaspoons of cinnamon, and then several dashings of freshly ground nutmeg. Sprinkle of some of the 3 teaspoons of cinnamon, because I'm just going to go with a good sprinkling, kind of like that. And now we're going to whisk it all together. So this will be interesting. We're going to just add, at first we'll just add like little bits at a time and kind of whisk it. We're just going to go ham with it. But we're starting to get a little bit of clumpiness to the dough. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of mix it with the rest of my bare hands. And then after this, we're going to knead it. You can smell the nutmeg, crisp and wintry. And there we go, we have a nice ball of dough here. All right, now we're going to do the thing that I've been dreading. We're going to knead the dough. I've only ever really made dough by hand, like once in my life. And we're gonna take this bad boy here. A little sprinkling there. I'm gonna go ahead and knead it out. Roll and rotate. Do this for about 10-15 minutes, which will be so much fun. All right, so it's been a few minutes now. It's been not quite 10 minutes yet that I've been kneading this, and it's actually starting to take shape in a much nicer way than it was in the beginning. Less goopy. I'm gonna go for about another 5 to 10 minutes-ish. In the meantime, how about another kink fact? Massage. It's a great way to kind of help get your partner in the mood, and kneading dough is actually not too different from giving your partner a massage. So if you ever want some practice, just go ahead and bake some bread. Bake a kinky king cake. So we've been kneading our dough. Now, gonna go ahead, put this back into the bowl that we mixed it in, and then we're gonna cover it, set it aside for an hour and a half. Okay, fine. All right, so while we are waiting for our dough to proof or to rise, we have about an hour and a half downtime or until the thing rises and doubles in size, and then we're gonna play some more with that dough. So in the meantime, you can always clean up your kitchen, you know, that you made a mess of while you were cooking, or to paraphrase the fantastic and immortal Hannah Hart on one of her very first videos, it turns out a big thing with cooking is waiting. You know what's a fun thing to do while you wait? Masturbate or have sex. The dough is definitely like increased in size. I don't know if it's quite doubled in size as the instructions say. Hopefully it still turns out all right. All right, so our dough has been rising. Yeah, I don't know, it's not quite as big as I thought it would be. And the instructions say to punch it down and then divide it into 3 sections. We're gonna make a rope and kind of braid it. All right, so I've got my 3 tubes of dough here. Frankly, they look a little bit like poop, which in BDSM play would be called scat play. Maybe you didn't need to know that. 2 of them look okay, and then 1 of them looks like absolute garbage. But we're gonna go ahead and just try to gently braid them.
Come on.
Now we just have to take this braided loaf, put it in a circle on the baking dish, and then put it in the oven. Let's do that. So it's not pretty, but it's in a circle. We're gonna put this in the oven now. The reason I decided to go with a braided loaf instead of a more traditional, let's say like rolled loaf, is because in BDSM, you know, rope is a very common thing in there. Also, especially braided rope is said to have some of the best feel to it. In terms of preferences, the 2 go-to ropes are either 100% cotton or especially hemp is a fan favorite among kinksters out there. In the oven, we got about 10 minutes left. Time to start making our icing. All right. What we're gonna do here is we've got our 2 cups of powdered sugar, we have a 1/4 cup of sweetened condensed milk, and then we have some fresh squeezed lemon juice here. Mix all the rest of these into this bowl here until we get a smooth mixture. Fork. Not safe BDSM tool, except, I don't know, maybe you could do a little bit of fun, just some very gentle poking with the fork. Let me get a new fork since I've now poked myself with it. New fork. But that would create some fun sensation play. If you a great kind of more official equivalent to that would be what's known as a Wartenberg wheel, which is kind of a spiky pinwheel that you can run along the skin. But if you're new to this and don't have the money yet or not sure about like a Wartenberg wheel, a little fork just for some playful pokes would get the job done just fine too. Alright guys, so our king cake is officially out of the oven now. We put icing on it. Let's go ahead and check it out real quick. See, so there it is. It's it came out a little bit rough in terms of the texture. The knotting didn't hold up, the braiding didn't hold up exactly as I was wanted to, but it's totally fine. And now we're just going to decorate it real quick and then we'll be done and it'll be delicious. Because this is a BDSM themed cake, I've got a little bit of red and silver sprinkles there for some, instead of the traditional purple, green, and yellow. And now I've got some black paint. I'm gonna do a couple little cute illustrations on here. So we're gonna see if we can make like a paddle and then a flogger real quick because it's fun.
'Cause I may be bad, but I'm perfectly good at it. Sex in the air, I don't care, I love the smell of it. Sticks and stones may break my
There you go.
bones, but
We've got
chains and whips
BDSM themed Kincaid's Kinky King Cake. Man, say that 5 times fast. All right, so one last thing we have to do before it is an official king cake, so we have to put the baby inside. Now, instead of a baby, I went ahead and got a tiny little penis lollipop, and then just removed the stick from it, and we're gonna put it somewhere inside the cake for somebody to find. And there we have it. Kincaid's Kinky King Cake. I'm about to meet up with some friends and we're gonna try this out. All right, you guys, so that was the recipe for Kincaid's Kinky King Cake. It turned out a little rougher than I was hoping it would be. Also, about exactly how I thought it would be. It was my first time really making pastry dough in forever, but it was a fun experience. So if you guys like this video, if you found it, some of the information in it useful, or just enjoyed watching me suffer as I panicked while kneading dough, go ahead, give it a like and subscribe. We'll be back with more information, more sex positivity and fun information next week. This was a little less informational based, more entertainment based, so let me know what you guys want in terms of in terms of content to you guys. What do you guys want? In the meantime, give it a like down below, hit that subscribe button as well, and I will see you next time. In the meantime, love like royalty.